Hello, Genius Math students. This is Section 1, Lesson 3. Title of the lesson is Addition and Subtraction Word Problems. Okay, let's go ahead and get right to it. Okay, since our whole lesson today is about solving addition and subtraction word problems, I want to give you some steps to go through. Make sure you get these in your notes, and when you're going through your assignment, it's probably going to benefit you to have these notes out in front of you so you can see exactly what I want you to do and what work I want you to show. Okay, so steps to solving addition, oops, let me erase this. Steps to solving addition and subtraction word problems. Okay, the first one is to make sure you understand what the problem's asking you, and here's what that means. Okay, I want you to circle what you know, what the problem tells you, and then underline what you want to find out. So circle the information you are given, and then underline the information that it's asking you to find. Okay, make sure you figure out what type of problem is it. For addition and subtraction word problems, there's going to be three different types. There's combining, there's separating, and there's comparing. So combining, are we putting things together? Separating, are we taking things away? Or comparing, are we saying how much bigger is one than the other one? Okay, so that's the understand part. Next is the plan. Just like show up, bring your tools, have a plan, like our rules in class. We have to have a plan for solving these word problems. First thing you do is write a verbal model, okay? And your verbal model is just showing me what you're going to do to solve the problem, but putting it in words, okay? And for the three different types, there's some different word problems that you can have. Notice the combining. It says if it's a combining problem, I'm starting with something, I'm adding more, and then that's going to equal a total at the end. Okay, so combining is an addition problem. Separating, I'm going to have some amount of something I start with, I'm going to take something away, and that's going to equal an amount that's left. Okay, that's a subtraction problem. And the comparing, it's going to be something bigger minus something smaller is going to equal the difference between the two. Okay, sometimes those will be time problems. Sometimes it might just be how much bigger is something than something else. Okay, and next is to fill in what you know and solve the problem. Okay, we'll talk about what that means. And the last thing is to check your answer. Okay, let's go through some examples. Okay, so we got our first objective and our first example. This is the only objective for the lesson, so make sure you get it written down. It's to solve addition and subtraction word problems. Now I'm going to go right into the example. If you need to pause the video to get that written down first, go ahead. Otherwise, we'll continue. Okay, it says in the first half of the game, Heidi scored 12 points. In the whole game, she scored 27 points. How many points did she score in the second half? Okay, so the first thing we need to do is make sure we understand the problem. Okay, we need to circle what information we're given. Well, we know that in the first half of the game, Heidi scored 12 points. We're given that information. Okay, we also know that in the whole game, she scored 27 points. Okay, that's also given to us. And we want to find out how many points did she score in the second half. So we're going to underline that. That's what we want to know. Okay, now we need to be thinking about this. A combining problem, a separating problem, or a comparing problem? Well, this one's going to be a combining problem. Okay, because we're combining her first half points with her second half points to get total points. Okay, so it's going to be an addition problem. So let's stop and think about what things we're adding together. We need to write a verbal model in words. Well, I'm adding together the points she got in the first half plus what? Plus the points she got in the second half. And that's going to equal her total points. Okay? So her first half points plus her second half points should equal her total points. Okay? Well, now that we got our verbal model written down, we need to plug in the information we know to the correct spots. So that first thing I circled, in the first half she scored 12 points. So I'm going to replace the first half with 12. Okay? Plus. Now let's look at second half. Where do I see the word second half in my problem? Well, that's something I underlined. I don't know how many points she scored in the second half. So we talked about how when we want to represent something we don't know, we put a variable there. Okay? So I'm going to put the letter X. And her total points. Well, it says in the whole game she scored 27 points. So there we go. Okay, now we need to solve this. You can solve this for x, figure out what x is by doing this in your head. Some of you can figure out 12 plus what number equals 27. Okay, another way you can do this is to take 27 minus 12. and we get 15. Okay? So what I don't know is 15. We'll go back up to my problem. What's it asking me to find out? It says, how many points did Heidi score in the second half? So my answer should be, she scored 15 points in the second half. Okay, make sure we answer the question. For word problems, you need to always make sure that your answer answers the question they ask. They asked how many points did Heidi score in the second half, so my answer says she scored 15 points in the second half. Okay, now if we're going to check that, we can check that by putting in 15 for what we didn't know, for that x. Okay, so I'm going to ask myself, does 12 plus 15 equal 27? Okay, what does that equal? Well, some of us like to do this way. I'm going to add them up. 5 plus 2 is 7, 1 plus 1 is 2, so we get 27. So there's my check. Okay, so that's your first example. Let's go on to another one. Okay, for example number 2, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go through our process. Again, make sure you use your notes if you need it. So this problem says, Alberto went to the store with a $20 bill. He bought a loaf of bread and a half gallon of milk. The clerk gave him $15.17 in change. How much money did Alberto spend on bread and milk? And explain why your answer is reasonable. Okay, well, let's talk about what we know for sure. What are we given? We circle that information. We know Alberto had $20 when he started. Okay, he went to the store with $20. Okay, we also know he bought a loaf of bread and a half gallon of milk. But since this is a problem about money, I want to know how much money he spent. I don't care what he bought. He could have bought gum or candy or something else. It doesn't matter. Okay, so that information isn't really important. Okay, but I do also know the clerk gave him $15.17 in change. Okay, so that's how much money Alberto's going to end with at the end, after he spends his money. And then we want to know how much money did Alberto spend on bread and milk. Okay, well, since we're starting with some money and we're buying something, we're taking away some money that he has. Okay, this is a separating problem. It means it's going to be a subtraction problem. Alright, so let's talk about our verbal model. What happens in the problem? Well, Alberto starts with some money. So I'm just going to put starting money. Okay, then he takes away money for what? Okay, he takes away money for his groceries. And if he starts with some money and he takes away money with his groceries, he's going to end up with some money. So how much left? How much money he has left. Alright, well, now let's use what we know to fill this stuff in. First thing I got circled is he went to the store with $20. That's his starting money. Minus how much he spent on groceries. I don't know how much he spent on groceries. That's what I'm trying to find out. So let's put a variable there. And how much money he has left, well, that's the same thing as his change the clerk gives him, $15.17. Okay? So our job is to figure out how much money he spent. Okay, there's a couple different ways we can solve this. We can kind of guess at it, or easier way is to go ahead and take the money he spent minus his change. So I'm going to take $20 minus $15.17 and see what we get. Okay, so subtracting here, we got 10 and we're going to borrow, and we got to borrow again, and we got to borrow again. So we get 3, that is 8, and that is 4. So $4.83. Okay, so I should say Alberto, got to answer the question. Alberto spent $4.83. Now we should check this to make sure it's right. Okay, to check it, we are going to do the same thing that we've usually done before to check. We're going to take the amount we ended with, $15.17, and add in what he spent and see if we get $20. Okay, so that's 10, carry the 1, that's 10 again, carry the 1, that's 10 again, and that's 2. $20, okay, $15.17 of change plus $4.83 he spent gives me his $20 he started with. Okay, so there's our check. Now explain why your answer is reasonable. Okay, you just have to just say in words, why is it reasonable he spent $4.83? Well, that's a reasonable amount to spend on a half gallon of milk and a loaf of bread. If I would have got $20 for my answer, that's not a reasonable amount of money to spend on those two things. Okay, let's go on to another example. Okay, example 3 is a good one. Says, Mrs. Kukta took 7 minutes and 5 seconds to solve a difficult math problem. It took Mr. Ayers 5 minutes and 57 seconds to solve the same math problem. How much longer did it take Miss Kukta? Okay, so we're comparing these two things. Okay, this is a comparison problem here. We want to know how much longer. Let's start by circling what we know. We know it took Miss Kukta 7 minutes and 5 seconds, and it took Mr. Ayers 5 minutes and 57 seconds, and then we want to know how much longer. Okay, so this is a comparing problem. How much longer says we're comparing. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take, oops, sorry about that. Let's get this back here. Okay, I'm going to take Mrs. Kukta's time minus Mr. Ayers' time. We're subtracting because it's a comparison problem. Should equal how much longer. Okay, well, took Mrs. Kukta 7 minutes 5 seconds. Took Mr. Ayers 5 minutes 57 seconds, and we want to know how much longer that is. Okay, now there's two different ways that we can solve this. Okay, some of us can solve this just by subtracting the two numbers pretty easily. Okay, if we got good number sense, we know things about minutes and seconds. So let's set this up as a subtraction problem. Okay, now this is like regular subtraction. I can't take 57 seconds away from 5 seconds because it's too many. So I got to borrow and make this 6. But now here's the kicker. I'm borrowing 1 minute. How many seconds is 1 minute? Okay, I'm borrowing 60 seconds. So now instead of 5 seconds, I have 65 seconds. Because I have the 1 minute I borrowed plus 5 seconds. Okay, well now we can subtract these. 65 minus 57 is 8 seconds. And 6 minus 5 is 1. Okay, so if I'm going to answer that, again, because I'm running out of room here, I'm just going to go ahead and circle this. Okay, I would say it took Miss Kukta 1 minute and 8 seconds longer than Mr. Ayers. Okay, we could check that. Now, if you're not sure how we did that problem, okay, or how we did the subtraction, there's another way you can do this. Alright, so instead of 7 minutes and 5 seconds, I could convert that into seconds. Okay, so let's think about this. 7 minutes. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute, so times 7 minutes. That's 420 seconds. Okay, so it took Miss Kukta 420 seconds plus her other 5 seconds, so it took her 425 seconds. Okay, and we see that from up here. It took 7 minutes, that's 420 seconds, and 5 seconds. So it took her 425 seconds. It took Mr. Ayers 5 minutes and 57 seconds. Well, let's figure out how many seconds 5 minutes is. 60 times 5 is 300. So it took Mr. Ayers 300 seconds for 5 minutes plus another 57. So that's 357 seconds. And then we could just subtract those and see what we get. Okay, so that's 15. This would become 11, so we're going to borrow from this. That gives me 8 and 6. That's 68 seconds. Well, 68 seconds is the same as 1 minute and 8 seconds. Okay, so it took Miss Kukta 1 minute and 8 seconds longer than Mr. Ayers to solve that problem. Okay, so there's 3 word problems for you. If you got questions, make sure you ask me, and good luck on your homework.